So why should you choose our Evil Goods Whip Tallow Balm over all the other options out there? Well, I've got some of the other main options right in front of me, so let's compare. The first thing you'll notice immediately is the size difference. I spent months using the other options, and one thing that annoyed me is that they charge so much for these, and yet the sizes are just so small. That's why we made ours way bigger. Most of the options you have out there are going to be like 2 ounces like these, but ours is 4 ounces. So you get way more value while still paying less per ounce, while also still getting top tier ingredients that are arguably even better than all the other options out there. Next up, let's open these up and compare the texture, because it doesn't matter how good the ingredient list is if the texture is too uncomfortable to use. You want whatever tallow balm you get to be as satisfying to use as any other mainstream skincare products, or else you're probably not going to stick to using it and you're just going to waste your money. And what you're going to find is that most tallow balms out there have the texture of an actual balm, kind of like these two. And the problem with having a balm texture like this is that it's very thick. And although that is good for your lips, if you're going to put it on your skin or your hands or your face, it's going to feel really thick and it's going to feel like it clogs up your pores. So as you can see, pretty thick. And if I spread it on my skin, it feels pretty thick. Some of the other ones out there, you will find a somewhat whipped texture like this one, but the texture is not the best as you can see, and it's still very oily. So this one feels pretty oily on your skin. So that's why we put a ton of focus into perfecting the texture of ours. As you can see, it's super whipped. And I would say this feels just as satisfying to use as any other mainstream skincare product out there, while not having any of the phthalates or parabens or emulsifiers that they use in those to get that smooth texture. It's super light, super airy, and most importantly, it doesn't feel like it clogs up your pores, especially when you put it on your face. In fact, we'll just use a little bit more. Another important aspect you want to consider is the smell. You don't want it to smell like beef unless you like the feeling of spreading steak on your face, but you also don't want it to have a ton of fragrance like this one does. Because although this does smell good, the smell is pretty strong, and to achieve the smell, they have to put in a ton of essential oils, which is not optimal either. This one, for example, smells a little bit too much like beef for my taste. Like, it doesn't smell like beef, but it also smells a little manufactured. I'm not sure if plastic is the right word, but it doesn't smell, it's not the most pleasant smell out there. That's why we opted to go for a more neutral scent. That way it does not smell offensive, but it also doesn't need a long list of essential oils or fragrances either. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind for all of these options is that because the main ingredient is beef tallow is a natural thing. It's going to vary a little bit batch to batch. So whatever option you end up going with, if the color or consistency or the smell varies a little bit from jar to jar, that is completely normal. What is not normal is mainstream products where every single batch is exactly the same. You can only achieve that with artificial stuff. Alright, next up we have the ingredients list. So most of them are gonna have grass-fed beef tallow. The difference with ours is that we use grass-fed and grass-finished beef tallow. That's really important because when it only says it's grass-fed beef, that means they did feed the cow grass for most of its life, but at the end of the cow's life, they'll feed it really unhealthy grains. It's a way for these factory farms to save money, so that's why you want to look for the label grass-fed and grass-finished. That means that the cow has been fed grass their entire life, which is what you want. Other than that, the ingredients list really varies. Like this one just has tallow and olive oil, while this one has tallow, honey, beeswax, olive oil, and all those essential oils. For us, we have grass-fed, grass-finished tallow, and every other ingredient is on here for a reason. We have Manuka honey, which is one of the most expensive honeys out there in the world for New Zealand and Australia. There's a lot of benefits to it that you can look up online, Manuka honey. We have organic cold-pressed olive oil, so it keeps all the good stuff in there. And then we also have extract from the pot marigold flower. Pot marigold has been used in skincare for literally centuries, and there's also a lot of benefits that you can look up online. And that's pretty much it. We were able to achieve everything we wanted out of this, from the super light, airy texture to the neutral smell, without needing to include any other ingredients. At the end of the day, it's important to keep in mind that you can make any of these tallow balms work for you. So it really comes down to how much you value the quality of the ingredients, the smell, and how satisfying it is to put on your skin. Are you willing to put up with the super thick texture of these ones, or the kind of oily texture of this one? Or do you want the super light, satisfying texture of ours? Do you care about it smelling good from all the essential oils? Are you okay with the beef smell, or do you want a more neutral scent? And hopefully you can see by now that we really put a ton of effort and time, we're talking like months of development, into making the best possible product for you. Our mission is to get as many people as possible to switch away from the super terrible personal care products out there, and the only way we're going to achieve that is by making the best possible products that are just as satisfying to use as the mainstream ones. And I promise that if you hit that buy button somewhere on the screen, you are not going to regret it. So click the buy now button somewhere on the screen now.